Hello all, good morning. Welcome back to class 13 of CSEET Business Communication by Excel Academy. I hope you all have had a good. Yes, apologies. Yes, I hope you all have had a good weekend and you are thorough with all of the portions that we have discussed so far. Hello. And let's hope that you have been understanding all the concepts and are also revising it before coming to the next class. Because, like I've mentioned earlier, we always reference whatever you studied earlier to what we're studying now so that it becomes easy for you to understand and remember everything. All right. So, we have been discussing chapter 3 so far, that is for your business correspondence, wherein we saw various things such as your business letters, your business messages, your virtual meetings, your MIS, that is your management information system, so on and so forth. Today, in today's topic, we will be understanding one of the most important topics that we have as future company secretaries, which is minutes, notice, and agenda of the meeting. Before that, I would like to emphasize on the benefits that Excel Academy provides. So I hope you all have joined the WhatsApp group that is created for the benefit of the students. And wherever you feel like you may require mentorship program for additional guidance, please contact this phone number wherein you will receive one-on-one mentorship, group mentorship, writing practice, because the papers are now descriptive. All right. Yes, so without further ado, let's begin with the next part of this chapter. So, in today's topic, we are going to be discussing on agenda, notice, and minutes, which, as future company secretaries, will be one of your core responsibilities, right? To draft your agendas for your board meeting, for your shareholder meeting, for your committee meeting. All right. So, before we dive into the technicalities of it, let us understand the whole concept of agenda or minutes. All right. So, now let's say, for example, you have a board meeting. Okay, you have a board meeting that is happening. Okay, what is board meeting? Meeting of the board of directors of the company. All right, or it could be your general meeting. General meeting is your shareholders meeting. Okay, what is general meeting? It is your shareholders meeting, correct? So now whenever meetings like this happen, right, you need to inform. So let's say, for example, let's step back from the corporate world and take like a real life example. So let's say you are meeting your friends. Okay, you are meeting your friends and you all are planning for a lunch. Okay, so wouldn't you decide on the place where the lunch is happening, what time the lunch is happening, right? And you would tell each other that you have a lot to share with each other. Similarly, whenever you are holding a board meeting for the company, you need to send across a notice to the board meeting, to the board of directors, saying a board meeting is scheduled to be held on so and so date at so and so time at this place, and here is the list of items that we plan on transacting at the board meeting, right? Why do you think this is important? So that the board of directors are prepared well in advance itself, right? If they are not available, they can also confirm that they are not available, right? And if they're available, then they can confirm their availability. So these documents are extremely important. They need to be well drafted, all right, and they need to follow all the rules that are set by your company's act and your secretarial standards, all right. So let's begin. Business correspondence. What is business correspondence? We've been understanding this, that this is written communication used in professional settings, right? Including letters, notices, circulars, and reports. This is something that we've already discussed so far, correct? Now, what is a notice? A notice is similar to a circular, but with a key difference. A notice is displayed on the notice board or company website for employees to view. A circular is distributed by hand. Okay. Now, this is notice in the general sense. Okay, this is notice in the general sense. What we will be understanding is notice from the meeting point of view. All right. So a notice for the meeting, also called a notification, is sent well in advance so all members can come prepared and contribute to the deliberations, right? So let's say, for example, one of the items of the meeting is discussion on the new construction project to be set up. So if the directors have any specific point of views, or if they have any points that they want you, they want it to be discussed in the meeting, then they can come prepared with it. All right. So now, what are the contents of the notice, right? Firstly, who are the participants of your meeting? Okay, it could be your directors, right? It could be your investors, okay, or it could be your committee members as well, right? So it is very important that you know who are going to be the participants of the meeting. Next, nature of the meeting. Is it routine? It is emergency? Is it special? So what do you mean by routine meetings? So in India, the Companies Act 2013 tells that you need to hold four board meeting every year. How many board meeting? Four board meeting every year needs to be held by every company, and one AGM, that is annual general meeting. What is general meeting? Your shareholders meeting, right? So if you are holding it to conform to these requirements of the Companies Act, then it is said to be a routine meeting. Emergency or special, is that something beyond routine that you want to discuss? That comes under your emergency or your special meeting. Okay. Date, day, and time of the meeting, right? Like I mentioned. So let's say, for example, it is being held today. So you will say Tuesday, February 24th, 2026 at 12 p.m. Okay, at 12 p.m. All right. Venue of the meeting. The venue is usually your registered office address. Okay, venue is usually your registered office address, right? What is the registered office address? It is nothing but which address is registered with your Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Okay, which address is registered with your Ministry of Corporate Affairs? That is your venue of the meeting. If you are not holding it at your say registered office of the company, then you need to be specific saying where else will it be held. Okay, so you have to be very careful while explaining all of these details, because dependent on these details, your attendance is going to matter. Let's say you have mentioned the incorrect venue, right? Let's say you have mentioned the incorrect venue, then the directors are not going to be present at your meeting venue on time. All right. Purpose of agenda or meeting, what do you want to discuss? Do you want to discuss the past performance of the company? Do you want to discuss an upcoming project? Or is there a crisis which has come that you want to discuss? All right. Signature of the secretary. This is your company secretary, right? Signature of your company secretary. Again, very important. If the company does not have a company secretary, then one of the members of the board of directors will sign it. If the company has a company secretary, then the CS will be signing it. All right. Next, date on which the notice was issued. Why does this become important? Now we do understand that date of the meeting is something that is important. Why is this important? For context, the Companies Act requires that for your board meeting, all right, for your board meeting, you need to send your notice 7 days prior. Okay, you need to send your notice 7 days prior. Let's say we were saying the meeting was on February 24th, right? Then you should have sent the notice by February 17th. Okay, what happens if you send the notice after this? Then it is called. So let's say instead of February 17th, you are sending a notice for February 24th meeting at February 20th. Okay, in that case, that meeting will set to be at a shorter notice. Then you specifically need to mention that this is a meeting at a shorter notice. In what case can this be possible? Let's say in your emergency or special case, right? That this is not routine matter, but there is something that has come up that needs urgent and immediate attention. All right. Duration of the meeting, that is optional, but why is it good to include? Let's say you are aiming for 1.5 hours, right? So you will make sure that you are making the maximum effective utilization of this 1.5 hours, because sometimes your independent directors, they are on boards of multiple companies, right? So they may have to attend multiple meetings every day. So it is good that you mention the duration of the meeting so that the directors can plan their schedule accordingly. Whether tea or lunch will be served, again, this is slightly in an informal context. That is not something that your Companies Act mandates you to include in your notice. All right. So I hope you have understood the concept of notice. Okay. Let's proceed to the next one, which is agenda. Okay, so what does notice intimate? Notice intimates what is the time of the meeting, date of the meeting, day, venue of the meeting, right? What is agenda? Agenda is a step ahead of the notice, wherein you will be discussing the list of items, right? Wherein you will be listing down the list of items that are going to be discussed at your meeting. Okay, this list is prepared in advance of the meeting by the secretary in consultance with the chairperson. Okay, the agenda is the backbone of the meeting and helps to focus the members' attention on matters at hand. We were just discussing you will be able to make maximum utilization of the meeting if you have your agenda preset, right? Not when you are deciding it at the board meeting, right? Thus, there is an optimum utilization of your time and members' energy as well. So, what does your agenda contain? We have the letterhead of the organization. So this is something that we were seeing in your letters as well, right? What is letterhead? It will have your logo, it will have your company name, your CIN, your phone number, website, email ID, so on and so forth, right? Date, time, and place of the meeting. Apologies for absence. That is, if any director do not make it, you give them a leave of absence. Okay, you give them a leave of absence saying this director has requested for leave of absence because he cannot attend the meeting due to personal emergency. Okay, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. So what happens is that we were just discussing that in a year you need to hold at least 4 board meetings, right? Let's say your previous meeting was on November 18th, 2025. So what happens is while you are sending out the agenda, you send out a copy of this November 18th minutes as well, so that the directors can go through it. And if they have any changes that are required to be made, they will communicate it to you. Okay, matters arising from minutes from last meeting, if there were any action points or anything, that will happen in your matters arising from your minutes, your items for discussion, any other matter. If you feel that in addition to this anything else is required to be included, then you can include that. And date, place, and time of the next meeting. Again, this is optional, not something that is commonly practiced. All right. So you have serially arranged topics. So your meeting usually starts with first one, say, to elect your chairperson. Okay, then to check your quorum. What is quorum? Whether you have sufficient number of members. Okay, then confirm the previous meeting minutes. Okay, so these are certain standard agenda items that you include in every minute, and then you can start off with your routine, right? So you can say take note of financials of of quarter 3, right? So once you have included these routine items, then you can start the actual points of discussion, right? Helps save time and stay focused. Okay, example, there's a very minor example here saying agenda for staff meeting 5th of September, wherein you review your previous meeting discussion decisions, attendance and discipline issues, proposal for your annual limit, and any other matter. Okay, so I hope you have understood the concept of notice and agenda and how they both are different. All right. Yes. Before we proceed to the minutes, let's quickly go to the module. All right. So we saw what is your business correspondent. This is what sent well in advance so that all the members attending it can come well prepared. Right. We saw what contents of the notice. Correct. This is your head. Okay, companies can have different type of letterhead. Some can have it visual, some can have logos, some can just have your name of the company as well. Right now, so here you can MD would like to you have your day, the date 28th of August, and then you have your timing as well, saying 11:30, right? Where in the conference room. So this is the venue of the meeting, right? This is the venue of the meeting, all right, to discuss the problems and possible solutions relating to the last batch of garments sent to Serangoon Garments, Singapore, all right. Then you have this is the notice. Okay, so this is your meeting date, correct? This is your meeting date, and this is your notice date. Okay, you see, is this sent with a shorter notice? Yes. Why? Because this is just sent 4 days prior to the meeting. All right. Then you have the list of people to whom you are sending the agenda notice to. Then what is your enclosure? That is the letter that you have received from Serangoon Garments regarding the problems of the last consignment. A notice is an official written communication for informing a group. Okay. Now, your features here are it has to be clear and precise. It includes your purpose and it should be written in a formal tone. Okay. Now, there is another notice here which speaks about, say, your particular college here. They are giving it on 25th November and saying that all BCom students are hereby informed that a workshop on digital marketing skills will be held on 30th December at 11 a.m. Okay, attendance is compulsory. All right. So I hope you have understood the concept of notice. Next, what is agenda? Agenda is nothing but your list of items that you want to be discussed at a meeting. Okay, this list is prepared well in advance. Okay, very, very important, well in advance. By whom is it prepared? By the secretary in consultation with the chairperson. Okay, now what are the contents? We just discussed all of these contents, right? And we also saw this. Now, what I have done is I have downloaded an actual mode meeting notice from the internet so that you get an additional idea as to how your notices are going to look like. Please pay attention to this because this is something that you as future company secretaries will have to say prepare on a regular basis. Okay. So we have this for a company called as Earcut. So you can see that this is their letterhead, correct? So this is their logo and letterhead. Okay, what is letterhead? It contains the name of the company, the SIN, the website, the email ID as well as the telephone number. And then you can say this is the notice of which meeting of your board meeting, right? Board meeting is meeting of your board of directors. Okay. So it is addressed to your board of directors. Then you have your name of the directors. All right. So now then here is a formal notice saying notice is hereby given that meeting number so and so of the board of directors of which company Earcar Limited will be held on Friday 28th March at 3 p.m. Okay, so you see there is day, there is date, and there is time where this is the venue. Okay, to transact the business mentioned in the enclosed agenda. Okay, for sake of convenience, the notes to agenda are attached in the format of draft board minutes. Please suggest amendments, okay? And please also provide disclosure in MBP1. You are requested to make it convenient to attend the board meeting, right? Thank you. By the order of board of directors. Who did we say will send across your notice? Your secretary, right? So this company has a company secretary. So you are going to send in the notice is going to be sent by the company secretary, right? So if a company has CS, the CS sends a notice. If the company does not have a CS, then you're one of the members of your board of directors or your authorized representative. Any other person who is authorized can send across your notice to your board of directors. All right. So now this person, again, they have written their membership number, their address. Okay. So this is something, this is a notice which is again available on the internet. You have date of the notice. Okay. Date of the notice and the place from where you are sending the notice. Quick call. Do you think this notice is sent at a shorter notice or within time? So it is sent at 20th March and your meeting is on 28th. So it is sent 8th day in advance, right? So this is not a meeting at shorter notice. Then we completed agenda. Now, we completed a notice. Now, next we have the agenda, right? Again, your agenda contains your meeting number, your date and time, and your venue. And here is the list of your detailed agenda items that you'll be transacting at your meeting. So, like we were discussing, we first have the chairman, the quorum, leave of absence, minutes of the previous board meeting. Then you have the specific reasons for which you have taken up your meeting, right? So first one is to alterate your article of association, approval of an ESOP scheme, to approve the draft notice of your extraordinary general meeting. So we saw general meeting is nothing but your shareholders meeting, correct? Your shareholders. Now, in this, we have two types. We have AGM, which is annual general meeting, and then you have EGM. So this is compulsorily to be held one every year. Okay, you need to have at least one annual general meeting every year. EGM is for any special business. Okay, EGM is for any special business that you are taking up. So that is what is being discussed here, saying to approve the draft notice of the EGM of the company, to consider any other matter, and then you have vote of thanks. So companies also go a step ahead and explain each one of these items, right, which is being done here. Okay, so you have chairman of the meeting. So you are saying who will be the chairman, the quorum. Okay, to take notes of the minutes of the previous board meeting. You have mentioned that, and they're also saying that the minutes are available here in Annexure to alter the AOA. Right? You have resolutions. Okay, resolutions are basically matters of discussion which are noted. Okay, so you are saying that resolved that pursuant to these sections of the Companies Act and subject to approval of shareholders, consent of the board is hereby accorded for alteration of AOA. All right. Then as you move forward, each of these agenda items have been explained. Okay. And wherever there is annexure that is required, we will have the annexure as well. Okay. So this is how your agenda and notice to the board meeting looks like. This is something that you will be taught in depth when you move ahead to the next level of CS, that is your executive. So I wanted to show you a sample so that it becomes easier for you to remember and picturize a notice when you are looking at it. All right. So I hope you are clear with your notice and agenda. Let's move on to the next topic, which is your minutes of the meeting. All right. Which is your minutes of the meeting. Just allow me a minute, please. Okay, so we have the minutes of the meeting. So something that you need to understand is that agenda and notice is something that is sent prior to the meeting. Okay, so you have agenda and notice which is being sent prior to the meeting. Okay. Minutes is something that you share post the meeting. Okay, minutes is something that you share post the meeting, right? And what is minutes? That is what was discussed. Okay, what was discussed and decided. Okay, sometimes it could so happen that you thought you will approve your ESOP, but you didn't approve. You will just write that the matter was discussed, and if it was approved, you will write what was decided as well, right? So minutes is basically a written record of the discussions held. Okay, a written record of the discussions held and the decisions reached. Okay, for this, it is essential to record what happened in the meeting so that the members are reminded of the outcome, right? Now, let's say, for example, you had your meeting today. In the next 15 days, your secretary has prepared your minutes. Okay, in that case, it may not seem that important, but let's say 4 years down the line, you want to refer to what happened in today's meeting. That is when your minutes of the meeting will come into picture, right? Notes are to be taken during the meeting to prepare the minutes so that to make sure that none of the points are actually missed out, right? So minutes are prepared by the secretary of the chairperson. He or she requires certain skills like note taking, use, reported speech. So here they are talking in a general sense. In from a company's act point of view, your company secretary prepares your minutes, right? All discussions during the meeting must be converted into reported speech and sequence of ideas, proposals, or suggestions, and the prepared minutes should follow a definite format and sequence of agenda. So we saw in our agenda, the first one was the election of chairperson, then quorum, leave of absence, and previous meeting minutes. Your minutes also should have the same sequence itself. Do not shift the serial numbers up and down. All right. Now, here we have given the format for the minutes of the meeting, right? So first one is header information, right? So you will tell that these are the minutes of which meeting, the first meeting of the MD and the manager of all departments held on this date at this time at this venue, all right? That will be your first header. Present who were present, right? So you had your MD, your manager. Okay. So this, we are not talking about board meeting. These examples from are a very generic meeting. In attendance, people who attended the meeting, right? In special capacity. Okay, so you had your secretary, you had your consultant, then you had your auditor, and then we have your apologies for absence saying these two people did not attend the meeting, right? Then ratification of previous minutes. We were just seeing that wherever your previous meeting has been held, you check those minutes and see if there are any changes to be made. Okay, amendments is nothing but your changes. Matters arising from minutes, that is from previous minute outcomes. If you thought that there were some action points and you need to discuss that, then you will add it in your minutes. Items for discussion, every agenda item that you have discussed, and next meeting, if you've already decided on the date, time and place, you can include that as well. Okay, now what is the language and style? So since it is written communication, right? Minutes are written, correct? It is going to follow a formal method of communication. Okay, it is going to follow a formal method of communication wherein the minutes should be recorded in a specific language and a particular format. Okay, they are supposed to represent a reliable record of all important matters discussed, resolutions moved, recommendations made, decisions taken, and action taken. Right? What are key characteristics? Your language should be simple and clear. This is something that we have been studying time and again in your business communication itself, that wherever you are using English, make sure that you are using simpler, clear language. Any language would that matter, but English is the most common used in your business correspondence, right? Reflects collective activities, that is, decisions should not be assigned to individuals, right? Let's say your board of director has 5 directors. Okay, you should not tell that Mr. A decided this. You should tell that the board of directors decided it, right? You are writing the minutes in a collective manner, not in an individualistic manner, right? Concise and precise, only major points, resolutions, and decisions, right? Let's say, for example, there was a particular point which went on for discussing for say 30 to 40 minutes, right? Do not include every single sentence that was discussed. This includes something that was major and something that was significant, all right? Names of the proposer, seconder, and assigned tasks are incorporated, right? So let's say, for example, who had proposed this, who is seconding it. Seconding it, basically supporting it, right? Official record that may use for reference, okay, by agencies or courts, right? Conforms to standards of formality and impersonality and uses simple past tense and passive voice. That is, a matter was agreed, a matter was raised, it was agreed. Free from ostentation and literary flourishes. Again, use as simple language as possible. Do not use complicated jargons that may make it difficult for any person to understand the minutes. All right. Now, what is the presentation format? You should have a separate paragraph for each section, double line space between paragraphs. So between the same paragraph, you have a single line space. Between two paragraphs, you have a double line space. Your heading should be in bold letters. Why? So that there's enough emphasis on it. Subsections numbered and in separate paragraphs. Why is it this? So it makes it very clear and easy to understand. Right? Action items in separate paragraphs with the heading action, and summaries itemized for clarity. All right. So these are certain ways in which you present your minutes so that they are as formal as possible and as easy to understand as possible. Right. Now, next one, minutes of meetings. So your features, again, your date, time, and venue, name of the members that are present, decisions taken, and your action points. Example, you had discussed the attendance issues. The HODs will monitor it weekly. Annual event decided for 28th December. Your budget proposal to be prepared, and you have your action taken report that is also there in your minutes. All right. So these are certain indicative items that you can include it in your minutes. I also have a sample board meeting minutes that I've downloaded off the internet, which we'll discuss post this. Okay. So once your minutes have been taken, you then prepare your action taken report. Right. What is action taken report? That is, what are the discussions that had taken place in the meeting and what is your next step of action, right? So let us see how does this work. So firstly, you have your minutes, which has documented your decision. Then let's say, for example, you are starting a new construction project. Okay, you are starting your new construction project, which was decided in your board meeting. Okay, so first you will include that in your minutes. Okay, and based on the project, you will start assigning it to someone. Okay, you will start assigning it to someone, saying that for this construction project, this is the lead of the project. These are the people that will be involved in the project, and here is the timeline, right? So what you will do, you will delegate your responsibility and set a timeline. Okay, once that is done, you will track. Okay, are the people who are delegated with these responsibilities doing the thing? Okay, is it happening within time or are we at a delay? Right, compile your ATR. Okay, what do you compile? Saying our original plan date of completion was at 10th of August, but we actually completed it by 10th of July itself, right? What were the points which helped us complete the project earlier? And if something was missed, right? Say some aspect of the project was missed, how do we make it better? All right. So ATR is something which helps you make a detailed plan in action and also track it later, right? It is a direct consequence of the minutes. The minutes record the what, the decisions taken, and the ATR follows by how and when. That is, in meeting, you would have decided that you want to take up this construction project. Your ATR will help you decide what you will do ahead, okay, and how will you do it. And then there's just an example report here saying weekly attendance report system has started, annual event venue booked, and your finance department submitted the budget draft. Okay. So action taken report is very important so that you are actionizing the items. Okay. Let's say there's no ATR, then you would hold the meeting, say in 28th February, then in the next meeting, say on 15th May, you will still be discussing the same points. You will not see any progress in your project schedules. All right. So I hope you have understood the concept of minutes, wherein your notice and agenda is something that is sent prior to the meeting so that your attendees are well informed, and minutes is something that happens after the meeting is held so that your discussions and decisions are recorded in place. All right. Let us quickly go back to the module to understand minutes, and then we will go to the sample minutes. Okay. So when we say minutes, what is it? It is a written record of all of the discussions held and the decisions that were reached. For this, it is essential to record what happened in the meeting so that the members are reminded of the outcome, right? They're prepared by the secretary. So we've discussed all of this. Then we have the format, right? Then we have the format saying first you need to have the name, okay, the nature of the meeting, date and time, the name of the people who attended the meeting, right? Names without designations can be given when meeting is informal, but formal meeting should have your designation. Okay. People who attended the meeting in a special capacity. Okay. Then you have, that is your sequence. Okay. It will follow the agenda closely, right? Firstly, apologies for absence who did not attend. You can read them out as well. Ratification of previous meeting minutes and any discussion, then you can write those down as well. Okay. Then the discussion for the agenda, that is every single agenda item that you had added in your notice, you will discuss it here, right? So now let's say, for example, the manager sales reported that the problem with the consignment could have been due to a computer breakdown and suggested having an annual maintenance contract, right? So now to just understand this, this is what was discussed. Okay, this is what was discussed. And this is what is decided, right? To have an annual maintenance contract. Now, we have decided that we will have an annual maintenance contract, right? Now, if I just write this in my minutes and do not actually start planning it, then it will not happen by your next meeting as well. So what do? You start preparing an action taken report wherein you state that your minutes, it is decided that you will prepare this, okay? Assign your responsibilities, then track your progress and then compile your ATR so that the next time you're meeting, you can show that based on last meeting discussions, we had decided to have an annual maintenance contract in place. And here is the progress of it so far, right? Now, manager of production informed members that workers' strike had created a problem with the production, and hence the consignment contained a reduced quantity of dress, right? And if any other matter, you can ask it or take it up, but with the permission of the chair. Okay. And if another meeting is fixed, then it is recorded in the minutes as well. Now, what is the language and style that we're talking about? It should be in a specific language, particular format, right? Then what should the language be? It should be simple and clear, free from ambiguity and precise, right? Then usually the decisions taken are a result of your collective activity, right? You do not assign the decision to a particular person, but you represent it as a collective, right? The language used should also reflect this, and the language should be concise and precise. Names of the proposer, saying I as a director have proposed it and Mr. B has seconded it. So you will say name of the proposer here. Seconder will be your Mr. B and the task that is assigned, right? So what are minutes? They are an official record of the meeting. Hence, care should be taken to ensure that the language conforms to the standard of formality. Okay. What should you use? You should use simple past tense and passive voice. This is something that we discussed in the first chapter, that is English grammar and its usage as well. When a past tense is something that has already happened, in that you are using the subsection of simple past and a passive voice. Okay. It should be free from ostentation and literally flourishes. Okay. It should be presented in a well-organized manner. So we show how your minutes should be presented, right? In a separate paragraph, then double space lines between two paragraphs. Then headings should be in your bold letters. If there are subsections, you need to number each one of them, right? And whenever there is a summary, the different content should be itemized, right? So what are the features? We saw certain sample documents that you include in your board meeting. Next, we have the concept of action tracker report that is compiled a few days following the date of the meeting. So minutes is something that happens after your meeting. Similarly, an action taken report is also something that happens on your meeting, right? So it is a report that details various actions. Okay, what is ATR? ATR is nothing but a report that details various actions that are called for in the meeting, right? So let's say in that we had an annual maintenance recorded. That is an action that was decided in the meeting. So you need to detail it out now. So ATR is prepared after a few days after the meeting to ensure that there is enough time to act on issues. How does ATR work? It is a direct consequence of minutes. The minutes record the what, that is what was discussed, and the ATR follows up by detailing how and when. That is how do we achieve this and by when do we achieve it. All right. This is again an example. All right, so this is the concept of your minutes of the meeting. All right, so I hope you have understood it. Before we wrap up the chapter, I would just quickly like you to show a minutes that I have downloaded off of the internet so that you are able to understand. Right. So again, firstly, you can see this is the header. This is the header of the minutes. Okay, you don't have your letterhead in your minutes. It's usually just a plain header, okay, which says which board meeting, 8th board meeting of the board of directors of which company, of this company mentioned here, right? So you have your Telangana State Horticulture Development Corporation Limited, held when you have written 26th day of March 2019 at 3 p.m., right? In the venue, okay, you will write the venue. Who was present? So we saw that the name as well as your designation needs to be mentioned. Okay, then you had the chairman. Okay, who was the chairman? Leave of absence. If someone was not able to attend, you will write the leave of absence and then mention who else were present, right? All the other directors were present. So then you start item one by one. This is as per your agenda sequence itself. Okay, so what did we tell you? Your content of the minutes should be in your simple past tense and passive voice. Okay, it should be in your simple past tense and your passive voice, right? So now just let's read this one line. Okay, minutes of the previous board meeting held on 16 July was read out. Okay, this itself is showing that this is simple past. Okay, this itself is showing that it is in your simple past tense, and confirm the same. Okay, this is in your simple past tense and confirm the same. Okay, and confirm the same. Now, is this in passive voice? So let us understand. If it was an active voice, we would have said that the board of directors read out the minutes of the previous board meeting. But what are we saying? We are saying it in a passive voice, saying the minutes were read out. Okay, so now what is the difference? Okay, so we are saying the board of directors read out the minutes, or minutes were read out. So here it is very direct, right? Who is reading out the minutes? That is your board. So this is going to be your active voice. Whereas in this case, we are paying emphasis on minutes. So the minutes have come first, and you are saying that the minutes were read by the board of directors. Okay, this makes it a passive voice. Okay. Then, as in when you proceed, you will discuss, you will write down all the points that have been discussed as per your agenda. So you have your notes of discussion, and then you have your resolutions. Okay. Then you have your resolutions, which is a written record, official record of what you have decided in the meeting. All right. So this is how your minutes look like. This is just a sample. So you can just say a quick vote of thanks, saying a meeting concluded with a vote of thanks to the chair. So you will have your VC and MD and your chairman who is signing your minutes. All right. So I hope you are clear with the concept of your notice, agenda, minutes, and your action taken report. So with this, we have come to the end of chapter 3, that is your business correspondence. Let us quickly go through the roundup to understand what we have discussed so far. Okay, so we started off this chapter by understanding a business letter, right? Wherein we saw different types of letters, different formats of letters, and how to write a letter. We also saw a sample letter that we had written down, right? Next. So what is a business letter? It should be complete, clear, simple, and accurate. Okay. It should reflect the writer's style, politeness, and professionalism, create goodwill and trust. All right. Formal letters cover legal, official, or contractual matters. Informal letters are everyday. So you have the layout, which is blocked and semi-block. Then business messages. Then we proceeded to understanding messages, which can be positive, negative, or persuasive. And you always need to focus on the U attitude. Then we moved on to understanding reports, and we also saw annual report of Reliance Industry Limited to understand this, right? So they can be compliance, feasibility, investigation, sustainability reports. Then we saw inter and intra-departmental communication, where we saw memos, circulars, notes, right? Then we had your MIS, which is a detailed, timely, accurate information about a specific thing. We saw compliance MIS. Then we have e-correspondence, wherein we saw how emails allow your fast, cheap, and 24/7 communication. And then we ended the chapter with your notice, agenda, minutes, and your action taken report. All right. So again, like I've always been telling, please do not read this chapter only from an exam point of view. Everything that you have studied in this chapter is something that will be practically useful to you when you qualify as a company secretary, or even when you start your CS training for that matter. All right. So I hope we are clear with this chapter. With that, we have reached an end of chapter 3. Okay, and now we will begin with chapter 4. Since we have completed one chapter, let's quickly take a break, and then we will continuously start off with your chapter 4. All right. So let us meet back at 9:45 after a quick 5 minutes break. Thank you. Great. I hope you all have got a good break and we are ready to begin with the next chapter. Okay, that is chapter 4. All right. So we have completed chapter 3 and now we will be proceeding to chapter 4, which is nothing but your common business terminologies. Okay. So in this, there are a list of different terms that you will be using time and again in a business setup. So let us understand each one of them one by one. Okay. So what? Why is this here? So why is the topic of business terminology very important, right? It is the main vehicle by which your facts, opinions, and other highest units of knowledge are represented and conveyed, right? Some terminology work is meant for reducing ambiguity and increasing clarity, and terminology can thus be a safety factor, a quality factor, and a productivity factor. Why safety factor? So that you are understanding whatever is being communicated, all right, and a productivity factor as well, so that you are not confused with whatever is being mentioned, right? So moreover, it is not possible to look up a word in dictionary at all times, so it is always good that you remember certain words in default, right? So in your previous chapters, you also saw that we discussed a lot of foreign words, right? It is very important that you remember the most commonly used foreign words in your English language, so that you don't get confused and you don't have to look it up every single time that word comes up in your conversations, all right? Then voluntary or involuntary, we memorize all the words of daily use. Making these terms a part of our daily conversation can surely help us instill these terms in the memory, right? Hence, we need a glossary of business terms providing us with definitions of the common words used in all aspects, right? So this is not all the terms that are used in your business one, but your most frequently and most commonly used terms, right? This business glossary serves as a ready guide for business proprietors, managers, students, and general readers as well. Various peers and topics have been covered ranging from accounting, banking, taxation, advertising. Okay. Therefore, we need to know their origins and meanings. So now first we will have a look at all of the basic and the most advanced terms of the 21st century. So a quick heads up, this chapter is going to be entirely these terms and understanding what these terms mean. All right. So now in business, what are the 10 basic terms? Management, that is those who are in charge of running a business, right? Your management. So it could be your directors. Okay, it could be your chief executive officer, your chief financial officer, your company secretary. All of these come under the management of the company, right? So these are the ones who are responsible for running of your business. Okay, these are the ones who are responsible for running of your business. Then what is business itself? Business is the activity where you are providing certain goods and services in return for a remuneration, right? So the activity for providing goods and services involving financial and commercial and industrial aspects. What let's take an example. You are good at baking, right? So you open a small bakery. Okay, so what are you providing? You are providing baked goods, right? Involving financial, commercial, and industrial aspects. Let's say you are a sole proprietor, then your business is going to be at a small scale. But let's say you decide to open multiple outlets, multiple factories, then you will have your industrial aspects also involved. All right, marketing. The commercial process is involved in promoting and selling and distributing a product or service. We have been discussing marketing time and again, where we saw example of social media marketing, right? So what marketing does is it analyzes the market as well as the trend. That is, what are the customers buying, what do they like it, and then according to that they will make a strategy to sell your company product. So basically they understand the market, see how your product has to be positioned, and make sure that your product knowledge about the product is reaching to the maximum set of people, right? Profit, that is the amount of money left after your expenses are taken off. So your profit is basically nothing but your revenue minus expenses. What is what you earned minus what you spend, whatever extra is there will be your profit. Let's say your expenses exceeded your revenue, then it will become your loss. Okay, telecommuting is involving working at home, usually on a computer. So this is the hybrid or remote work setup that has become very prevalent now. Downsizing is a planned reduction in the number of employees in order to reduce costs and make the business more efficient. What is downsizing? Let's say your company has over 800 employees, but you are on the verge of making losses, right? So what you do, you reduce employees and you do not remove employees randomly. You strategize well and remove those sections or employees from those sections that may no longer be helpful to the business, all right? Outsourcing. So let's say, for example, what is outsourcing? Contracting out selected functions or activity of an organization to other organizations. So let's say this is very prevalent with your, say, marketing, okay, or your R&D, okay, wherein you give it to a third party. So you say hire a marketing agency or a firm, wherein you will give them all the details of the business and they will take care of the marketing activities, right? So they will understand what is the market trend, how is your product in the market, right? What price to set it at, okay? Then you have your R&D, wherein business or government activity that is purposely designed to stimulate invention and innovation, right? This is specifically there in your universities, wherein you have a separate department for research itself. Headquarters is the office that serves as the administrative center of an enterprise, right? So let's say, for example, we were taking the example of Reliance, right? So Reliance, let's say the headquarters is in Mumbai, right? But it is functioning across the country, right? So any companies may function across the countries or across continents, but it will have a headquarter where it primarily functions from. And then market is the world of commercial activities where goods are bought and sold. Okay, so I hope you have understood these 10 very basic but very, very important terms that are there in your business English. Okay, so now we will be understanding all of the detailed terms that are given to you. So it is a very thorough and a comprehensive list. So let us understand one by one. If you have any doubts, please feel free to add your doubts in the comment section or the chat box, and we'll be more than happy to explain it to you. All right. Yes. So the first one, so we are going in alphabetical order. The first one that you have is your acceptance in your bill of exchange. Okay. So what is bill of exchange? Bill of exchange is nothing but a negotiable instrument. Okay. Wherein it is a negotiable instrument, okay, wherein it is, so let's say, for example, I have sold certain goods to you, say worth 10,000 rupees, right? So I will draw a bill of exchange on you saying Mr. A needs to pay rupees 10,000 by so and so date. So when Mr. A accepts that bill of exchange and signs it, okay, when Mr. A accepts that bill of exchange and signs it, that is when it is known as acceptance of your bill of exchange. Okay. So what is acceptance? It is assent given by a party. Who is the party in our case? Mr. A, to a bill of exchange. Who drew this bill of exchange? Me. By signing across the face of it. Acceptance may be done online by clicking on the accept button. So this is in case of your physical bill of exchange. This is in case of your online instruments. All right. Next, acknowledgement. Okay. Acknowledgement is basically, in your layman terms, acknowledgement is to tell that yes, this is there. So let's say, for example, you have filed a form. Okay. You will get an acknowledgement. So that is basically that there is a proof. Okay. Acknowledgement is like a proof. So in your business and your legal terms, acknowledgement is the signature of a clerk or an attorney certifying the person signing the document has signed by his free act. Okay. So let's say, for example, there is a sale deed. Okay. There is a sale deed wherein Mr. A is selling his property to Mr. B, right? So in Mr. A's case, it is very important that he has done it out of free will and not out of force or pressure, right? So what proves that? This acknowledgement proves that. So who signs the acknowledgement? Either a clerk or an attorney, right? Acquisition costs. Acquisition costs are the incremental costs involved in obtaining a new customer, right? What could be the costs? Say you did multiple customer visits, right? Before they actually became your customer, you met with them multiple times. Okay. And then once you have, say, signed the deal, you have a lot of, say, onboarding, training costs that are there. So these are the costs that are there, which are in acquiring a new customer. Act of God. Okay, act of God is something that means beyond human control. Okay, that is beyond human control. Beyond human control, right? So what is act of God? It is a term usually used in insurance to denote risks and dangers arising out of natural causes that are beyond human control. All right. So this is what could be your examples: your earthquakes, or your floods. Why is it specifically used in insurance and why is it called act of God? So let's say, for example, you have a factory and a fire has happened, right? That was well within your control. Let's say, for example, there was some gas leakage because of which the fire happened, right? If you had taken care of that leakage, then the fire could have been controlled. But do you think you can control earthquake or flood? No. That is when your insurance companies term those as act of God, and your contract specifically mentions whether act of gods will be covered by the insurance policy or not. All right. Next, Action is a case or a lawsuit. That is a civil judicial proceeding where one party sues another for a wrong one to protect a right, right? So let's say, for example, I have a trademark. I have a trademark and there's another company using the similar trademark as mine. So I am going to file a case or an action against that company for what? For trademark infringement. Okay. So this happens in your court of law. And ADB, again, this is a Asian Development Bank, just a abbreviation that you need to remember. Adjournment is postponement of a court session until another time or place. Okay. So let's say, for example, the judges require more evidence, right? Then in that case, they will adjourn the meeting to a later date. Let's say today is Tuesday, February 24th, and the judge says that the meeting is adjourned to, say, Thursday, February 26th. Okay, so that is Thursday, February. So what are you doing? Originally, it was supposed to be held on this. It was held, but it was decided that you will postpone it to the next 2 days. Okay. Adjudication is a decision or sentence imposed by the judge. Okay. That is what the judge has decided in the proceedings will be shown by way of adjudication. All right. Affidavit. What is affidavit? A written statement signed in the presence of a judicial officer, a notary public, or an oath commissioner that is admissible as evidence in the court of law. Okay. So let's say, for example, you are opening a company, right? But the ministry wants you to tell that you will not do any activity except for what you have mentioned in your objects clause. Okay. So you as directors will write an affidavit that we will strictly carry on the business of, say, construction, and we will not involve in any financing activities, right? So affidavit is like a written statement which can be shown as an evidence at a later stage. Okay. Affirmation. Declaring something to be true until the penalty of perjury by a person who will not take an oath for religious or other reasons. Okay. So when you take religious, you may see in movies, right? You see court scenarios wherein you are placing a religious book and asking to take your oath over it. If you're not doing it for religious purposes, then you will have to do a affirmation. All right. Agenda, something that we just understood. It is a list of items that are be transacted in a meeting. Agent, a person appointed to act generally or special business on behalf of a principal, usually on a payment of a commission, right? So let's say, for example, you are the owner of a apartment. Okay. You are the owner of the apartment and you want to give it to rent. Okay. So you will hire an agent who will find a tenant. Okay. And what does the agent get in return of it? It will get a commission. So let's say, for example, your rent is 30,000 rupees, right? So agent will get, say, 10% of it. So you will give 3,000 rupees to the agent as commission for finding the owner a tenant. All right. Allegation. Saying that something is true, the assertion, declaration, or statement of a party in the case made in pleading, right? So now let's say, for example, we were taking the case of trademark infringement, right? So when I'm filing that case, what is my allegation? My allegation is that they are infringing my trademark. Okay. They are infringing my trademark. Okay, so it becomes very important that whatever you are writing is true and whatever you are saying has to be written in your allegation. Okay, allotment, issue of shares or debentures to an applicant after a payment of a notified price. Okay, let's say, for example, a company is issuing 1,000 shares at 10 rupees each. Okay, now I want to invest. I want to, say, buy 300 shares. Okay, so in 300 shares, I'll have to pay 10 rupees, right? So in total, I'll have to pay 3,000 rupees. So once I have paid 3,000 rupees, these 300 shares will be allotted to me. Okay, these 300 shares will be allotted to me. Okay, so allotment happens after you have paid a specified amount of price, a notified price, which the company will decide. Okay, amalgamation, the coming together of two or more previously autonomous businesses into a single undertaking, right? Two or more previously autonomous, that is, they were not connected earlier, right? So let's say two banks merged into one new bank. Okay, two banks merged into one new bank. All right, next, American Depository Receipts, right? So this is something, so it is issued by it is under a US banking institution of a company which is outside the US, right? So let's say, for example, someone sitting in the US wants to subscribe to Japanese securities. So if any US banking institution, right? So what, let us understand with the definition that is given here. So ADR is a receipt showing evidence of a foreign corporation, okay? Foreign corporation under control of whom? US banking. So why is it American depository system? Because it is taken in control by US banking, but the share belongs to a foreign company. All right. Amortization. Okay. Amortization is your writing off of your liability or debt over time, loosely speaking, through depreciation of waste assets through operation of a sinking or a purchase fund. So let's say, for example, you have your trademark. Okay. Your trademark is an intangible asset that you have. Okay. But over the period of time, the value will reduce, right? So that is what you do with your amortization. That is the gradual writing off of your liability. You will not write it off immediately. You will write it gradually. Okay. So this, okay. So your amortization is for your intangible asset. For your tangible asset, it is your depreciation. Okay, depreciation. So to understand this, let us say you have purchased an iPhone worth 1 lakh rupees today, right? When you go back, say after a year or two to sell it, do you think they will give you the whole 1 lakh for it? No, right? They will give you say 60 to 70,000 for it. Why? Because over the period of time, the value of that iPhone has reduced, right? So similarly, amortization is the same case only for your intangible asset. All right. Next, you have your annual report. So annual report is a statutory document filed by every company annually, as the name suggests, with the registrar of companies. Who is the registrar of your companies? Your ROC, who keeps a track records of all the companies, right? When did they get registered? What is their purpose? How much profit are they earning? So on and so forth. And what do these annual return consist? They consist of your status, names of directors, shareholders, indebtedness of the company. Okay. And so in Indian Companies Act, your annual return is filed in the form MGT7. This is just for your general knowledge that I'm mentioning this. When you move on to your executive level, you will be understanding this in much more detail. All right. Now, next is your annuity. What is annuity? It is a fixed sum of money payable for the whole or a part of a person's life under the terms of an insurance policy or will. Okay. So let's say someone has passed down a will to their children or grandchildren, right? So I am going to tell that every year this amount of money should be given to my grandson. All right. Or let's say, for example, upon retirement also you are receiving certain amount every month. Okay. So upon retirement also you are receiving certain amount every month. That is something that will be there with the way of annuity. Okay. So fixed sum payable for the whole or part of a person's life. All right. That is your annuity. So when you move on to the next one, can you give me a minute? Yes, apologies. There was a technical error. So let's quickly get back. Okay, so first one, we've understood annuity, right? So annuity is a fixed sum of money payable for the whole or part of a person's life. All right. Next, you have your appeal. Okay, what is an appeal? Appeal is a process by which the correctness of a decision of a lower court, okay, is questioned by a higher court. Okay, is questioned in a higher court. Okay, so let's say, for example, your case was being fought in the high court. Okay, your case was being fought in the high court and you are not happy with it. Okay, then you will go to your supreme court. Okay, then whom will you go to? You will go to your supreme court. Okay, so this is very important. That is, if you are not satisfied with the decision that was given by, say, the high court, then you are going to go to your supreme court to get the decision in appeal, right? Why is that so? Now in high court, your experience of the judges will be it is great, but it is lesser when you compare it to your supreme court, right? So that is when your appeal comes into picture. That is, if you are not satisfied with the decision given by a lower court, then you go to the court higher than that, which is your supreme court in this case. But let's say, for example, you are not happy with the decision of the supreme court. There is no one that you can appeal to because there is no higher authority than that of your supreme court. All right. Next one we have is your appearance. All right. Next we have your appearance. So what is the appearance? The official court form filed with the court clerk, which tells the court that you are representing yourself in a lawsuit, or that an attorney. So you can either represent yourself or you can appoint an attorney to represent you, right? All court notices and calendars will be mailed to the address listed on the form, right? So if I am attending, then it will be emailed to me. If my attorney is attending, then it will be mailed to him, right? When a defendant in a civil case files an appearance, the person is submitting to the court's jurisdiction, all right? The person is submitting to the court's jurisdiction. All right, just a minute, please. Yes. Next, you have your appellant. Okay, the party appealing a decision or judgment to a higher court. So we just saw the concept of appeal, right? So appellant is the person who does the appeal. Okay, what is appellant? Appellant is the person who does the appeal. Okay, then next you have arbitrage. Okay, next you have the concept of your arbitrage. So arbitrage is the business of taking advantage of difference in price of a security traded on two or more stock exchanges, right? So what happens in this case? Let's say, for example, you hold the stock in one stock market where it is being sold at 100 rupees, right? So you purchase it from there and you sell it at a stock market where the same stock is sold for 150 rupees. So you are gaining an advantage of 50 rupees in that case, all right? So what I have done, I have taken the advantage of the difference in the price of a security traded on two or more stock exchanges by buying in one and selling in other. Okay, so what did we do? We bought it from the market in which the price of the security was 100 and we sold it in a market in which the price of the security was 150. So I have gained rupees 50 per security that I have sold. All right, so this is what is meant by arbitrage. Next, you have your arbitration, which is a quasi-judicial arrangement whereby a dispute between parties is resolved by referring it to mutual consent or to arbitrators whose decision is binding, right? So let's say, for example, you have entered into an agreement, okay? You have entered into a partnership agreement, okay? And then you have appointed an arbitrator. So arbitrator is not a court per se. It is a person that you decide will be the arbitrator for your case, okay? So what happens is that, let's say in the partnership, any decision that needs to be made, there is a conflict in it, right? Then you will go to this particular person whom you have chosen to be the arbitrator and they will solve the problem for you, okay? So now arbitrator can be any person, right? It is a person whom both of you have decided that will be a arbitrator, all right? Next, arrest. When a person is taken into custody by a police officer and charged with a crime. Okay, when a person is taken into custody by a police officer and charged with crime, right? I mean, this is a term that we all know and we use it time and again, right? So let's say, for example, a person is accused of certain robbery and it is proved, right? Then the police officer are going to arrest them and take them into custody, right? Take them into custody is basically they will not be able to move freely unless they are bailed out, okay? They will not be able to move freely unless they are bailed out. All right. Next, asset. Okay, asset is something that you own. Okay, what is your asset? Asset is something that you own, right? So let's say you as an individual, you may own a laptop, you may own a mobile phone, you may own certain gold jewelry, right? That is something which is your asset. Okay, So what is asset? Anything to which your money value can be attached. Okay. Anything to which your money value can be attached, owned by a business or an individual, right? So if it's an individual, it is the examples that we just understood. If it's your business, it will be your, say, machinery. It will be your cars that are used for your business purposes. It could be the inventory that you have as a business. That will be your asset. Okay. It may be financial, such as cash. Okay. Physical, such as land or building. Tangible, such as your patent or trademark, and intangible, such as goodwill. Just a small correction here. Building or land is tangible. Patent, trademark, and goodwill, all of these are intangible, right? Please keep this in mind whenever you're understanding your asset. Okay. Next, asset turnover. Assets turnover is the sales divided by the total assets. Okay. Asset turnover is the sales and divided by the total assets. That is important for comparison over time and to other companies. So this is a standard business ratio. Okay. This is a standard business ratio. Why is asset turnover important? To understand that for every 1 rupee of asset, how much turnover are you getting? Okay. For every 1 rupee of asset, how much turnover are you getting? All right. Just apologies, but there is again a technical error. Kindly give me 2 minutes while I resolve it, please. Thank you. Yes. Hello all. There has been a technical error because of which we might not be able to continue today's class. So we will continue tomorrow again at our regular timings itself, that is at 9 o'clock. But I hope you have understood everything that we have discussed in today's class, starting from your business correspondence with your notice, agenda, minutes, and your action taken report, and the few business terminologies that we have discussed today. Apologies for stopping this class in the middle, but please be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock again, and we will continue. And wherever you require mentorship, please feel free to contact this phone number that is there on your screen. And I hope you all have joined the WhatsApp group that has been created for the benefit of the students. So with that, we will conclude the class today a little earlier than usual, and we will meet back tomorrow again at 9 a.m. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining.